questions that I get in the Naturally You Clinic, which you can find out more about at thenaturallyyouclinic.com. And today I'm going to be talking about, should you take supplements? So there's a few things that I just want you to kind of think about when you make the decision as to whether you're going to take supplements or not. The first thing that I want to make very clear is that as a nutritionist, my stance on this is that you should never aim to use supplements to replace a healthy diet. Even when you're taking meal replacement drinks, those are normally only meant to be for a particular time, or for you to reach a particular kind of health goal. Maybe you're fasting, maybe you're trying to lose weight, but it's not a long-term solution to replace the nutrient profile that you get, the complete nutrient profile that you get from whole foods in their natural state with a processed form of a supplement. Even if it is like a meal replacement drink that says it's got all of the, nutrients in it. The other thing to consider is there's a big difference between an isolated vitamin or mineral or nutrient and a whole food supplement. So when I speak about things like CMOS, that can be something that some people would refer to as a supplement, but really it's a food. So when some of my clients are deficient in certain nutrients, I will recommend them CMOS as a way to increase their nutrient level. But because it's an actual food, it's got a whole host of other nutrients in it because it's a whole food in its natural state. And sometimes you will get supplements or things that are called supplements, which are actually just a combination of whole foods that are combined together. So some green powders are just actually a load of green, plants and herbs and sea vegetables that have been powdered down, and they are called a supplement. And depending on the amount of processing that those foods have gone through, then most of the time they're minimally processed, so they retain a lot of their nutrients. But it is still worth making that distinction between whole foods, or supplementing your diet with whole foods, whole superfoods they're sometimes called, and isolated vitamins and minerals. So when you buy a vitamin D supplement, for example, it's different. The vitamin D levels that you're going to be getting from a vitamin D supplement, which is normally a synthetic form of vitamin D that's been isolated into a capsule or a tablet, is gonna have a different impact on your body. Your body's gonna absorb that differently than the vitamin D that you would get from egg yolks or mackerel or other foods, or the sunlight, because there's also the consideration that sometimes, especially with things like vitamin D, the way that you absorb them. So things like magnesium is normally best absorbed through food and actually transdermally through your skin. It's really absorbed quite well through your skin. So using magnesium oil sprays, there's a sister called Morgan Genius, Sophia from Morgan Genius, who's got a really good range of magnesium, and a lot of it is transdermal. So it's the salts, it's the sprays, it's the oils, and that's a really good way of absorbing it. And then with vitamin D, if you're a person of color and you've got an abundance of melanin, then the best way for you to get your vitamin D, as opposed to getting it supplementally, is through sunlight, is exposing your skin to sunlight for about 20 minutes a day, and then making sure you don't wash your skin for about 20 minutes after that sun exposure, so that your body has an opportunity to absorb it. So that's the first thing to mention. The other consideration when you're looking at supplements is, now again, even when we are focusing on getting most of our nutrients through the food, the consideration is that modern farming practices have depleted a lot of the nutrients in the soil. So unless you're getting your food from a sustainable farmer or an organic farmer, the nutrients available in the soil that would have nourished that plant and therefore nourished the food that grows from that plant isn't always going to be as beneficial, which is why, again, as a nutritionist, I fully understand that it is beneficial to add supplements to your diet to make up for the depleted soil that a lot of our fruits and vegetables are grown in. So the other thing to consider when you're looking at supplements is how good your digestion is, because if you already have digestive challenges, you don't want to go and get yourself a big hard capsule, because your body is probably going to struggle to break that down as efficiently as if you were going to go and get your supplements in the form of liquids or powders. And I do try and get a lot of liquid and powder, like sprays and those kind of things, because a lot of the clients that I work with do have digestive challenges. The other thing that you can get aim to do is find capsules that are pure fill, so the only ingredient in them is the active ingredient that you're looking for, so your body doesn't have to digest a load of binders and preservatives, and they do tend to be slightly more expensive. And the other thing that you can do is to make sure you're getting a vegan capsule, because again, they just tend to be easier to break down. The protein starch ones or the HMPC ones just tend to be a bit easier to break down than some of the others. The other thing that you want to take into consideration, if you are supplementing with things like fish oils and oils in general, oils can be, when they're taken out of their natural state, whether that's extracted from a nut or a seed or a fish liver, wherever they're taken from, they tend to be protected when they're in their natural protection, whether it's like the shell of the seed or the nut or whatever it is. When you process them out, they tend to be quite susceptible to heat and light and oxygen. Apart from things like palm oil and coconut oil, most other oils, once you extract them out, you want to aim to keep them, and especially if you're buying them supplementally, you tend to want to buy the ones that are refrigerated, so they're protected from heat, and they're in a dark glass bottle, so they're protected from light and oxygen, because when they're not protected from those three elements, they tend to go rancid quite quickly. Therefore, you need a lot more of them in order to get the same benefit as ones that you would get that were in a dark glass bottle and protected from heat and light and oxygen, because they're in the fridge. So when it comes to fish oil, for example, I don't recommend you get the cod liver oil that you normally find on the supermarket shelves or the pharmacy shelves. I would recommend that you get a fermented cod liver oil. The brand that I recommend is Green Pastures Blue Ice. Again, protected in a dark glass bottle, and you keep it in the fridge, so you get more bang for your buck, basically. The other consideration is make sure that you even need a supplement, because some people come into the clinic and they're supplemented with zinc and calcium and magnesium and Q10 and a whole heap of things, iron, and unless there's a guy called Paul Chek who's got a whole health company called the Chek Institute, and he said something that has always stuck with me, which is that unless without assessing, you're guessing. So oftentimes, we'll hear someone's taking a supplement, or we might watch something about a deficiency in a nutrient, and we'll assume we've got that deficiency and then start taking that supplement supplementally. And it's one thing if you're going to take it in a food source, because again, food sources will have loads of other nutrients that you'll benefit from. But when you're taking an isolated vitamin or mineral because you think you're deficient in it, if you don't need it, there is the possibility that you can be taking in things in levels that become unsafe. And it is a bit difficult to overdose on vitamins and minerals, but it's not impossible. And why waste your money on buying supplements for things that your body doesn't need or that it can get in other sources naturally? So make sure you actually know that you need these things before you go ahead and waste your money in taking them, because that same money you could be using to go and buy healthy fruits and vegetables. The other consideration is most supplements, apart from things like transdermal things or foods, most good supplements, and the way that I recommend people take supplements is to stimulate a body's natural function or to help you get out of a deficiency. They're not meant to be things that you live on and rely on, and again, you replace healthy foods by taking these things. So most good supplements, you shouldn't really need to be on them for more than 3 to 6 months. If you've got a really challenging health situation, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But again, while you're in that process of taking it, it's still a good idea to make sure you're assessing along the way to make sure you still need it over that period of time. But if you found that you've been on a supplement for months or years, you might want to just check that you actually still need it, because again, most of them you should just use them to get yourself out of deficiency, re-stimulate a sluggish area of your body, and then you maintain with your food. So in saying all of that, should you take supplements? I would say yes, they are beneficial to increase the nutrient levels that you're getting from depleted food. They should be seen as something you take in addition to a healthy diet and lifestyle. But if you're taking them just because you think you might possibly need them and they're not the best quality and you're not really assessing whether you definitely need them, then in that instance, I don't think it's 100% necessary. So this has been Leah, the Naturally You coach from the Naturally You Clinic, and the question was, should you supplement your diet with supplements? You can find out more about the work that I do at naturallyyouclinic.com or the naturallyyoucoach.com. I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Take care and stay healthy.